Welcome to the Get Back, music work talk in Central Texas, Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed private sector employment law attorney of your choice. All right, welcome back. This is the Get Back for August 20th, 2021. It's Friday, as usual. I'm Aaron, and Russell's here. Hello, Russell. Yeah, right on. Okay, cool. Well, let's see. We got a few things to get to. I want to remember to say, though, please like and subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get up to that threshold where we can rename our channel to something that makes more sense than the gobbledygook that's there. And hopefully we'll get there. We always talk about the links at the bottom, and we always talk about beverages. I'm doing coffee like usual. What you got there, Russell?
Spring water like usual.
Mm-hmm. The beverage of life there. Lovely.
I mess with a winning combination.
That's right. Remarkably consistent. Yes. We knew our brother Mark was not going to be here today. He's got some work happening, and we love to hear that, especially in this time of cancellations that we're in again. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But
I had a few cancellations too.
Yep. Yeah, me too, man. Bit of a bloodbath this week, but there's still some stuff that's happening, and so yep. Mask up and get your vaccine if you haven't gotten it yet. That's That's the only way we're going to get back into all this stuff. So, yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, we've got a few news things. We've got a little bit about unemployment again rearing its ugly head in there. Of course, I say ugly head now because it's mostly not helping people the way it was when it was helping people, but. And then we've also got our presentation on the PRO Act. I think our final installment of the series on the PRO Act that we could do today as well. So, why don't we start with the news? We'll just kind of dive into that. So we've got an article from, when was that, Wednesday, about the Texas TABC sort of threatening businesses, the liquor licenses, restaurants in particular, if they required masks or proof of vaccine. We had a few restaurants implement that policy, and then the TDOC said, "Oh well, it'd be a shame if your liquor license got canceled because of that."
And there is a flip side to that.
Uh-huh.
You remember when I was talking to you a while back when we first got the vaccines and we got those cards, and we went down to the Rosewood Center, and the nurse told me, "I want you to keep this card in a safe place because people steal these." And I was like, "Oh, really?" Now that's a problem.
Yeah, the fake ones are going out, right? Yeah.
And the problem is your names are on there.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get your names, if you look on there, they get your information and your identification.
Yeah, and that was a problem right away. When the vaccines first started, people started posting the picture on social
Yeah.
media with all that
Right.
stuff. A lot of times they
Don't
have
do
their,
that. Don't do that.
which is great. It was a great sort of show of enthusiasm,
Right.
for getting it, and that's what that was about. But most of the time, I think they usually had their finger over the real important parts. But yeah, oh man. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess, like a lot of things right now. But
And it's not just the TABC that is using that, because now that the state and local and the city government are at war over this, you're not exactly sure what you're walking into at, say, a club that you walk into. You don't know where they line up with that policy.
mm-hmm,
So, and that's happened to me.
mm-hmm.
I've walked in masked, and some of my other members have walked in unmasked, and not naming names, but it's been a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, yeah, it's gotten ugly to the point to where musicians are going to, because it's forcing the club people to basically be, the police.
Well, yeah, and yeah, that hasn't worked out well.
Not at all.
In clubs, but also in grocery stores and other
Yeah,
businesses. I mean,
very
it,
uncool.
it's put those employees at risk when they try to enforce those things, and folks don't want to be enforced upon. It's gotten ugly, and yeah, that is really a shame to see. Yeah.
And now with the festival coming up, and people are already said that I'm not following those, and I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it remains to be seen what happens with that. But yeah, of course, we're talking about for the viewers. I mean, we're talking about the law in Texas, the governor's orders.
Right.
Um, I mean, yeah, it like prohibits mask mandates and vaccine proof from
Identification.
being
Yeah.
from being required. Particularly with things that receive government funding, right? So like all the
Mm-hmm.
schools and government buildings and things. And of course, now a lot of those entities are defying that order, and there's lawsuits crisscrossing. And
Abundantly.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, and of
But
course,
it's funny. I mean, the one school district, and you shouldn't make fun of it. It's kind of funny. They got around it because they changed the dress code.
yeah,
I thought that was hysterical.
yeah, yep, yeah. And of course, I mean, the dress code is, I think, probably, unequally enforced on
Right.
women in particularly, right? So I mean, I heard a lot of women say that right away, even before that happened. They were saying like, "Oh, it's making it part of the dress code." They're just like the spaghetti straps and all the things that they give me, grief about, and so yeah, that's an interesting development for sure. Yeah. Oh man. And of course there was concern with specifically with the venues, because they're a lot of them have received aid, from different government entities like the Paycheck
Mm-hmm.
Protection Program, Economic Injury Disaster, and most recently, finally, the Shuttered Venue Operator Grant. And those are all government programs. So, do they lose that money if they, so it's very scary, and yeah, you would think it would be, I guess, an easier decision. Because we know what the result is going to be. We know it's
Right.
going to result in more infections, and yeah, that's going to slow everything back down. And we always knew that, of course, as musicians. Our work is not going to come back full blast until well after everyone is comfortable going to the grocery store or going anywhere for fun. Much less for because they have to go. And that's where we're
Well,
at now.
you always said that, and it's abundantly clear that is 100% accurate.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, we're back at that place now where people are afraid to go to work, you know,
Yeah.
and our work is just not going to come back until well after everyone's 100% comfortable going to work and the grocery store and the places they got to go into, school and places like that, you know. So yeah, it's disappointing, but we have to do it, you know. I mean, it's not up to us; it's up to the virus. We have to respond to what the
Yeah.
virus is doing, and we don't have any control over that other than to wear our masks and get vaccinated and socially distance, right? Wash our hands, I guess. Don't touch our face.
Right.
I guess I was just touching my face. Don't do that. But oh man, yeah. So, geez. What else here? We've got an article about the Texas state legislature is still in their second special session, and they had a few Democrats return, and enough, I guess, enough to make the quorum.
Like quorum.
Right, 3 of them came back, and are starting the fight. You know, that's what they said. They're starting the fight in the legislature. So I'm not sure if the rest of the Democrats are still in Washington D.C. if they're coming back. I think they're coming back now. I think is the idea, but
Well, the arrest warrant has been canceled. So
yeah,
they can basically do whatever they want now.
right.
They're
And what-
basically- now that they have the quorum, they're basically not needed now.
Yeah, but what an embarrassing thing that would have been. Yeah, if they would have actually arrested them like that. Yeah, that would have been ridiculous. But you know, yeah, hopefully it goes on. I've heard there's a group of black ministers that are demanding a meeting with the governor about the voting laws specifically, and I think that's a
Good luck with
thing.
that.
Yeah.
He's in quarantine now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but
Perfect timing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you know that would be you know a really good thing to have on TV or something, right? You know,
There's Zoom and FaceTime. It can be done.
right? We're doing it right now.
Yeah, it can be done.
You know, yeah, no infection risk here, man.
That's
you know?
right.
So that was an interesting development. What that article is dated yesterday. Texas Supreme Court leaves mask mandate orders in place for now. That's from yesterday as well.
Didn't you find that shocking?
Mm-hmm. That the which part?
That they left it in place
Mm-hmm.
with the amount of pressure building and people just, well, no, we're not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's-
Yeah, and the Attorney General is still saying that he's going forward with his lawsuits
Yeah.
and all
It's-
this. Of course,
wow.
you know, Ken Paxton, you know, the Attorney General. So yeah, it was kind of shocking, but you know, I think it's what it's what the parents and the school districts are demanding, and I completely understand that demand, right? You know, and I would hope that the Supreme Court would understand that demand, and I would hope the governor would understand that demand. But that didn't seem to be the case before. But yeah,
No, hopefully that he's receiving treatment. I hope he'll rethink that policy now that he can prevent those from needing to
Mhm.
receive treatment.
hmm yeah. Oh man, I hope so. Yeah. Oh goodness. Let's see what else. Kind of a dark article from yesterday. The Texas Health Department denies aid request for COVID-19 care site at Travis County Expo Centers. They were going to like set up
Saw
a
that. Yeah.
field hospital or something. You know, I mean that seems like a pretty dark piece of news. But
Yeah. Rather than that, they were talking about receiving 5 refrigeration trucks for the bodies.
yeah, then they're talking about that. Yeah, but that's coming from
Wow.
FEMA. Yeah, that's coming
Yeah.
from the federal government. So they're getting that. Yeah. Oof. It's dark. I wonder if that has something to do though. I mean, we do know like last summer there were some like overflow like field hospital sites set up that never got used.
Right.
So maybe that has something to do with it. But like, I mean, better that you have it and not use it than need it and don't have it, right? One
You would think.
yeah, it seems,
It makes good sense.
yeah,
I
it
mean,
seems like common sense to me.
it's
Yeah.
called preparation, but
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. And then the article from today, we'll post in the notes here. It says Texas not enforcing ban on school mask mandates amid ongoing legal battles. TEA says. So yeah. So that's the Texas Education Agency is saying that now in their updated health guidance. So that's kind of the clearest message that schools have had and parents have had so far, I
right.
suppose. Yeah. So yeah, God bless the parents out there. I don't know how they're navigating all this uncertainty. It's just amazing.
You know, I was watching the news and you're listening to the parents talk and you know they're having these meetings and they're getting out of control. It's like anarchy in these meetings.
Oh,
I mean, like, don't you people listen to science? I mean, these are your kids. I mean, don't you want them to be
yeah.
safe? I mean,
Well, but it's we know already that a certain percentage of the population is not listening to science. I mean, they're listening to things that are directly not science, directly against science.
right.
But then you throw in the parental aspect. You're absolutely right. They have children. I mean, they're trying to do the best thing that they think should be done for their children, and that just amps everything up emotionally. Of course, and I really feel for everybody that's trying to parent in this situation. It's just, it's got to be gut wrenching. Yeah, it's gut wrenching for me. I don't even have kids, so yeah.
It's wild. But it's one of those things that we'd still have polio if it wasn't for science.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was eradicated not so long ago. We
Yeah.
could look back and see that.
Yeah, there's living memory of
Yeah.
that illness and that disease and the vaccines that freed us from it.
Yeah, you can go to Smithsonian and you can see those black lung machines and go, do you really want that?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, man.
Because that's the ventilator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the old version of the ventilator, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not a comfortable time in our history here. Oh man, especially that this is happening right when school's starting. It's just the timing couldn't be worse, really.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm.
Especially since it's not really 19 that's getting the kids, it's the variant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We don't have a good handle on what that really does.
Yeah.
It's worse. We don't really know what it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a race, and yeah, we're behind. Yeah, absolutely. Mm. Man, well, speaking of terrible timing, let's go to the TWC news on unemployment here. We have had we haven't had a lot of activity the last few weeks with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee until about this week, maybe a little bit last week as well. But we're starting to hear more from more musicians that are getting that notice from the TWC that says something like that they've failed to prove their employment status for 2021, and so they don't qualify for the PUA benefits that they already have been paid for all of 2021 in a lot of cases. And it's just terrifying because it seems to indicate that, like, oh, you're going to have to pay back thousands of dollars that we've paid you. And we're hearing from several musicians this week that have gotten that notice. And it's just like panic inducing because, most musicians that were getting PUA we're freelancers, we're
Sure.
independent contractors, and we're cut off from aid at the end of June. So they're really struggling
And they're
right
like,
now.
exactly where is that going to come from?
Yeah,
I'm one of the ones on the eviction list. Where is that? How I can't make it now. So how am I going to pay you?
yeah,
Oh, it's just frightening
yeah,
to think that that's on top of what's already happening.
yeah, yeah. It's nuts. Um, and so, but there's like kind of some good news here, but it actually kind of makes it even more frustrating because we've heard from several musicians also that initially contacted the committee about that, and then within like 48 hours or so, they got another statement from the TWC, but only in their inbox. Although one of them got on the phone and got the news that way that the repayment had been waived, so they didn't have to repay it. So it's like they're saying like, oh, we didn't make a mistake, but we're going to waive your repayment. And it's like, it still seems like a mistake.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so, I mean, that gives a little bit of relief, but it's still like they're spinning these people up into a panic, and then like, oh, just kidding, or whatever. It's just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, we really feel for folks that are experiencing that right now, after, probably not even receiving any aid from unemployment in the last, what, 2 months, over 2 months now.
Yeah.
And now having all our gigs canceled again, and this is happening. So, yeah, yikes. So make sure you check your correspondence inbox because the other thing may already be there. But the wrinkle is if you've already started an appeal, like what you're supposed to do, you may not get that other thing because then you're in the appeal process. So then you have to follow through on the appeal process. So you still have to go by what you actually get in documents from the TWC. But like I said, I did hear from at least one musician that got through on the phone relatively easily, which is kind of weird to hear after this year where we've heard you can't get through on the phone all the time.
Right.
So you gotta go with what they actually say. And yeah, like I say, if you started the appeal process, the law says that the collections can't start. But then, unfortunately, I've heard from musicians that are in the appeal process and they've gotten the bills already for the collection, which is not supposed to happen either. So, yeah, so we've kind of restarted our connection with our state senator's office to get some requests in from specific TWC offices to get calls to musicians to try to solve this problem. So if you as a musician, if you're watching this, if you're having trouble with that, get a hold of us at the union office. We're helping everybody out with that right now, regardless of union status. But join the union. It helps to for all of this stuff, to sort of advocate for our profession as a whole as workers. It really helps to have a union. And
Well, you see the benefits.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it's the union going to the senators,
yeah, yeah,
and it's the senators actually responding to the union.
mm-hmm, yeah,
I know personally. You try calling them on your own.
yeah. I know you have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I can't wait for this pandemic to be over. We can go knock on some doors down there.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
You try going to their office.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Supposedly the people's house.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So, gosh, so that's the TWC thing. Are we ready to go on to the PRO Act?
Sounds good.
Okay. Cool, man. I've got it pulled up on here. Do you have it? Do you have it on your screen as well?
Pull it up here on my phone here.
Cool. Cool. Let's see here. I think we just go to this, and this is still we're still using this presentation that our brother in Portland came up with, Chris Hubbard, who's the Secretary Treasurer of the Portland Local. Thank you, Chris. And yeah, he put together this really great PowerPoint deck about the PRO Act that we've been borrowing, and it's really fantastic. So thanks so
He
much,
really
my
did a good
Chris.
job.
He did, yeah. Yes, indeed. So, I wanted to go up one more slide. There it is. Yeah. So we've just been working our way through this list of things that what does the PRO Act do? These things that the thing actually does. Um, and let's just go down that list. It gives workers more rights. It allows more workers to form unions. It gives unions more power, and it weakens employers' power, and it gives the NLRB teeth. And the NLRB is, of course, the National Labor Relations Board, which kind of automatically has more teeth now that a majority of its members actually support helping workers, whereas in the previous presidential administration, the majority of the NLRB members were actually opposed to worker rights and favored, employer rights and corporate rights, which is not what the NLRB is supposed to do at
Right.
all. And even their chief legal representative was basically a union busting lawyer. So a lot of things have been fixed, but it shows you how quickly things can go downhill. I mean that was not the case in the Obama administration. And so it really hasn't taken long. Just 4 years. How much ground working people can lose in this struggle.
What intent really drives this.
Hmm.
I mean, people get there, and their intent can really flip the script.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'm an advocate, and I'm supposed to really advocate for the people. However, the people I'm advocating for are the corporate guys. They're still the people, but
Yeah.
it's amazing how they pull that off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they pull it off by paying those people. They pay. They're like, oh, they paid for my vacation. Oh, they paid for my kids' college. Oh, they paid for my house. Great. Let me help those guys out. Great.
They pay for that phantom out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. So what we've been doing, we've kind of been doing this over the last several weeks, is we've been kind of covering this little list of what does the PRO Act do here. We've been covering each one by one, but then always kind of finishing off by going to number 5, which is the one that people seem to have the most questions about. In that is it gives the NLRB teeth. What does that mean? Why doesn't the NLRB have teeth? And so we've talked about that every single time. But now we're on number 4, so we'll talk about number 4, then we'll talk about number 5 again. And yeah, it's been fun and very necessary because a lot of us just aren't aware of how
You know,
much power we've lost.
you talk about it, and just real quick,
Yeah,
how many people knew the NRB didn't have any real power?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you're basically talking to a wall plant.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do anything for you. You're
Mm-hmm.
making calls for nothing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So, all right. So number 4, it weakens employers' power, and a lot of folks say, yeah, this is a confusing part, right? Because like we don't want to weaken employers' power to make money, because we all want to make money. I
Right.
mean, if our employer's not making money, the employees don't make any money. But that's not what this is about. We're talking about it weakens employers' power to mistreat workers, to exploit workers, to negotiate contracts that are unfavorable to workers. And so that's really what it's talking about here. So we have to be clear on that. So some of the points here are really good. The PRO Act bans offensive lockouts, right? So the employer's ability to just unilaterally lock out employees. That's really the strongest action an employer can take, where they just
For,
lock
for,
the
for
thing.
this one, you think back to the air traffic controllers.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How they went on strike and Reagan said, "Okay, you're all fired."
Mm-hmm. 1982. You know.
Had this been in play, never could have happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is a weakening of employer power or employee power that has been happening for the
Right.
last 50 years, a long time. You know. I mean, not to reveal too much, but yeah, 1982. I was about 7 years old, so like, it's a long time. This is all happening, man.
Yeah, well, not to reveal too much, but I wasn't.
Don't tell him nothing, brother. Don't tell him nothing.
One of us in the chair is an old dude.
That's okay. That's okay. We need you, brother. We need you. The next point is employers would not be allowed to knowingly or even unintentionally mislabel their workers' employment status. And okay, that's kind of complex, but so employment status is, generally whether you're an independent contractor or you're an employee, and okay, well, what's the difference? Well, there's more paperwork when you have an employee, right? No, well, yes, but there's more paperwork because employees are protected by federal law as far as regarding minimum wage, prevailing wage. You have to
Benefit
receive
packages.
benefits, exactly, particularly Social Security and Medicaid benefits that are paid on every pay period when you're an employee. When you're an independent contractor, none of that happens. It's up to the contractor to do all that, if at all. Um, so that happens a lot where employers, will misclassify or mislabel their employers or the employees rather as contractors when they really should be employees, and that's just to save themselves some of the paperwork and cost, and sometimes allow them to pay lower wages than what would normally be legal. So this law would make it illegal for employers even to unintentionally mislabel their workers, and that's good for workers, even in the music business. And we've been fighting this battle, since the late '70s with misclassification in, with nightclubs and hotels and resorts and things, classifying us as contractors when in a lot of cases we really should be employees and have the benefits and protections of employees.
If you have to make weekly rehearsals and you have assigned time to be on the clock, you're an employee.
That's it. Yeah. So it's it's really a thing, and we're really seeing, I mean, the past few generations that have grown up during this period where we have this massive misclassification of musicians, we've kind of gotten used to that
Exactly.
thing. But we are seeing, our musicians who were working in the '70s that are still working now, and we're seeing some of them that have, that don't qualify for Social Security or Medicaid benefits because they started under the old system and then continued working in the new system of misclassification, and they don't have enough credits built up in the Social Security or Medicaid systems. So then they're left out in the cold, and that is not right, man. These are people that have worked their whole lives, and every American deserves a dignified retirement when they work their whole lives, right? So it's terrible. I shouldn't even say every American, every person. You work your whole life, you should have a dignified retirement. Yeah. So, all right, next point. It requires employers to disclose if they hire union busters. And I'm so glad we already used that term. So, what's a union buster? Right? It's a special lawyer, usually a team of lawyers and their staff that are hired by employers specifically to discourage employees from unionizing, from building their own voice and power to get better wages and working conditions. And this would it doesn't make it illegal to do that, but at least they have to tell the workers that they're doing that, and I think they have to also tell the federal government if this passes. Right now, they don't have to tell anybody.
Yeah, they're very covert.
Yeah.
They don't have to identify who they are. They just kind of show up in whispers and
Hmm.
innuendos, and
Yep.
it's very disheartening and
It
kind of
is.
scary.
And we know that's been a factor in the recent, unionizing campaigns that have failed, especially in the South. The recent Amazon one, and that's one of the things
Right?
that has gotten that overturned. They're going to do that Amazon election in Alabama again because they found that Amazon did
They're
break the
cheating.
law. Yeah, the teeth,
They're cheating.
exactly. Yes. Yeah,
You only won because you cheated.
he cheated. Yeah, that's right. They did. So, the next one is prevents employers from permanently replacing economic strikers. Um,
Air traffic controllers.
yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah, man. Um, you know, they shouldn't be able to permanently replace people that go on strike to win better wages.
And see, and that's one of those things where they had union busters there that were leaking information that we're going to replace you
Mhm,
if you don't come back.
mhm. Yeah,
And you have families in there that are threatening you with that, and you got to make a living, and what you decide,
hmm and people who go on strike. I mean, you got to understand, like they're not. You don't get paid when you go on strike.
exactly
Like you're already putting your entire family at
at
risk.
risk.
You know, to win a better future for them. So yeah, to have it even more so is just not fair. At all. And so this helps with that. The next thing is it makes it illegal for employers to implement their quote last best and final offer. What does that mean? With contract negotiations, a lot of times when there's an impasse, where there's sort of a stalemate, where the parties can't agree, the employer will say, "Oh, well, this is our last best and final offer," um, and if the contract runs out, right now, in a lot of situations, they can just implement that last best and final offer um, until the parties come back to the table and agree on something. Um, and that is really unfair because it should be the previous contract terms, right? Should continue if no agreement's made, um, and so it really is already illegal for that to happen. But there's no consequences for it when the employer does that. So it's one of these things where, we have to have meaningful consequences when
Right.
employers break these laws. Otherwise, it's like they're not even there, and that is where we're at right now. So, yeah. All right. Let's see. The next one is makes it illegal for employers to withdraw recognition without election, and what they're talking about is union recognition. Um, and that's another thing where employers will try to withdraw their recognition of the union as a bargaining uh, element, uh, and uh, and so if that happens and there's no union all of a sudden, then there's no one for the employer to bargain with, so they can just do whatever they want,
Yeah,
and
whatever they want.
it's another thing that's like, isn't that already illegal? and it is, um, but there's no consequences right now because they've been eroded away with small changes to the law over the last 40, 50, 60 years, and we've got to strengthen those laws again because we're getting killed out here, y'all. So yeah, man.
Yeah, you have to remember the unions are the only entities that are legally allowed to collectively bargain.
Yeah, that's right.
And if they can shy away from dealing with us, they will.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, yeah, and there's no alternative if they
Right.
if they withdraw their union recognition, are allowed to withdraw their union recognition. Yeah, it's really a mess. So, um, yeah. The next one is requires employers to meet with union within 10 days of certification and allows either party to implement mediation or an arbitration in bargaining. And that means certification means that's when employees vote when they have an election to form a union, or to form a chapter of an existing union to bargain on their behalf. This requires employers to meet with the union to start bargaining a contract within 10 days. Because that's a huge problem right now, is even when, like, we're to go back to the Alabama Amazon thing, like, even they're just trying to get the union recognized as the bargaining
Right.
unit. But even once that happens, they're not there yet. Even once that happens, then they're not done yet. Then they have to actually bargain a contract with the employer. And this is another place where the employers slow it down. They're like, oh, let's wait 6 months before we bargain that contract, and that's wrong too. They should be able to impose those delays just to give them time to shut the factory down or whatever they're doing, or move production somewhere else, or or fire all the union leaders.
Right.
That's what they do a lot of times too.
I had a friend tell me, he said, do you really think that there wasn't a reason why a dude wanted to get into space so fast? Because he didn't want to have to deal with these people here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's getting out. He's getting moving up.
Like,
He
I don't
thinks.
want to be chief exec anymore because he could see this coming.
Well, he already doesn't want to be the chief executive. I mean, there's already a timeline, right?
Yeah, he resigned. Yeah, he's out of there.
Yeah.
He's still going to be the big power broker, but he won't be the CEO.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He'll be the board chairman.
I know. You're talking about Jeff Bezos here from
Yeah.
Amazon. Yeah. Yep. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, the PRO Act weakens employers' power, but it doesn't weaken their power to make money. It weakens their power to exploit workers, and that's what this is all about.
Well, we all respect capitalism. We all
Yeah.
are capitalists.
We are capitalists. Yeah.
And we're all for making money,
Mm-hmm.
but we're all for equally given the opportunity to make money.
That's right. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Yeah. That's a mistake that a lot of folks are making right now. The union's all socialists, and,
Right? Yeah.
and like even that doesn't mean socialism is not incompatible with capitalism.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of misunderstanding about these concepts right now, and we need to change that. We need to educate ourselves and each other by having these conversations. Otherwise, the employers are just going to keep bulldozing over us. So.
With fear tactics.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All kinds of things. But yeah, fear tactics are one of the main things. You're right. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go on to that's the point number 4. So let's go on to number 5 about the teeth again, because we've been doing that every time. So let's move down to the PRO Act gives the NLRB teeth. And we've been going through this every time. It authorizes meaningful penalties for violating workers' rights, and we just showed 8 different examples of that. And
Right.
It allows the NLRB to enforce its own rulings, and that's another thing. People are like, "What do you mean? Why can't it enforce its own rulings?" Well, right now it can't. It doesn't have the power to do it. It has to appeal to either the Department of Justice or other governmental entities to enforce its rulings. Kind of like our state governor's office is having the TABC enforce their rulings right now. And then it repeals the Taft-Hartley Act's ban on the NLRB hiring economists. And there's another one, why would you ban them from hiring economists? And Taft-Hartley is, from 1948, I think. So, yeah. What were you saying, sir?
Which, you ought to look that up. That's interesting. It's about hiring economists that'll basically tell you what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on who's in power, which is usually not us, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get the economy, and the economist telling you what you want to hear, you get the power brokers who support that, and money brokers will support the power brokers, and the people are kind of frozen out. And next thing you know, that's how the ball rolls. And that's really how they got the right to work into play.
Yeah, the so-called right to work. Yeah,
Yeah.
movement. That's right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's really puzzling. But yeah, we have to get the NLRB's right to hire economists back because they need that info to fight against the employers. And we're talking about, giant corporations here, that have really unlimited resources, especially the ones who are multinational or global companies. Compared to any national government entity, their funding is limitless
Sure.
because they're making
But,
so much money.
on the surface, when you hear right to work, you think, yeah, that's right, I do have the right to work. No, wait a minute. I mean, examine that. I mean, what are they really telling you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have the right to work. So did the railroad workers, and how they work out for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's one of those things that you need to know what the other side is really saying.
Yeah. But that is a brilliant. I mean, it's a brilliant slogan.
It is
Because it's so simple and dumbed down that oh my gosh, yeah, that's one of the
because
reasons.
yeah, and that's why it works. I mean, you remember that class that we went through? I told you simplicity appeals to the masses.
Hmm.
Right to work? Yeah, I do. I have right to. Okay,
Yeah.
send them out angry.
Yeah, yeah. And often we've been coming back, with right to work for less or right to work yourself to death or things like that.
Right, right.
But those are longer, the shortest one.
They don't put that part in.
Yeah, I know. Mm. Yeah, I mean there's a progressive slogan now, that's named after the book by Jane McAlevey called "No Shortcuts," and that might be the progressive counter to right to work. I think maybe because it's shorter, but not everybody knows what the heck you're talking about when you say no shortcuts. But but what it means is we can't take any shortcuts as far as like educating ourselves and educating each other. We have to keep
Right.
talking about this. We got to stay angry about this, and that's the only way it's going to get fixed. We can't.
Right.
We can't, appeal to our politicians. Oh, please fix this for us. They're going to say, even the ones that support us, they're going to say, you have to make me do it. You have to show support so that I can get this done in the government. Um, so we have to do it as working people. We have to do the work.
And you hate to say this, but you have to show them that they can be replaced.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
there is no reason why a person should be 80 years old in Congress.
Yeah,
I mean, let's examine your record, and I want to see progress. And
yeah,
even though you are voting the same way that I am, or we're in the same party, your record needs to show that either you need to die trying. They need to. They ran you out of here.
hmm
I don't
yeah.
want to see compromise. I don't want to see where you. Well, if I gave them this, no, we're not voting you into compromise.
Mm. Well, and there's also the issue that those folks have a good retirement.
Yeah,
I mean,
they have no downside.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they have the retirement. I mean, a lot of times they cite the concern that like, oh well, we don't have a replacement that we know can win against the Republican or the Democratic opponent. And that's why they're still in there. But if that's the case, you're not including enough people in your process. So you have to include more people. You need more people.
And the
So,
big question is, I mean, how can you get elected poor and leave rich?
oh man, yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head right there.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I don't understand that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, you should you should be able to get elected poor and be able to retire with dignity, like we've
Yeah,
been saying.
like the regular citizen.
Yeah.
You should have the same rules that we need to live by. So should you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I'm on stage, there are no packs coming to the stage and going, well, if you play this B flat the way I want to hear it, that they're, do a little extra stuff for you at the end of the night. They ain't doing it.
Imagine that.
There are none of my manufacturers going, hey, if you put this one up front, there may be a special envelope for you, and it ain't happening. So,
Oh man, that's a good point. That's a good point.
and it ain't like I haven't tried it.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, God bless you. Oh goodness. All right. Well, so that's I guess that's the end of our ProAct series. So thank you for doing that with me, Russell, and going through that these last several weeks. And
Very necessary. I mean,
yeah,
he laid that out beautifully.
yeah. Our brother
He needs to be
Chris.
highly committed for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. Yeah. Yeah, he's been talking about it a lot, and of course, our international president Ray Hare's been talking about it, and our legislative director Alfonso Pallard has been talking about it all year. I mean, for actually the last several years, really. And it looked like it was going to get passed at this summer. Now it's looking like maybe it will be broken up and included in parts of the budget reconciliation in the U.S. Legislature. I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen yet, and it's not something that we as citizens get to vote on, but we have to tell our senators and representatives that we want this, because we've lost so much worker power in the last 3 generations. That in some ways it's causing a problem for the employers. The employers need the employees to push back with what they need, so that they can retain employees.
Right.
And that we're hearing that about all the time. All these businesses like, oh, I can't find employees. No one wants to work. And that ain't because they don't want to work. They want to work, but you got to pay them enough and take care of them. And if you don't have a union where those employees can get together and speak with one voice and negotiate for the things that they need, the employer doesn't have any way to find out what those employers want.
What they don't want to work is 4 and 5 jobs to make a living,
Mm-hmm.
to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
To where you're basically never at home. So, and instead of retire, you're in a hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, the pandemic has really pointed out, that people don't want to work in jobs that don't have any job security, that don't have any health benefits, that don't have any, support, that don't have any sort of child care support, things like that. People don't want to work jobs like that. And that should be surprised.
It exposed it. I mean, you see how necessary that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see, other developed countries that have all that stuff we just talked about, and have had for a long time.
Just look at our neighbors, Canada. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you just I still have to figure it out. I mean, come on, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is right next door.
Yeah, it's right.
Pay people salt all the time. Just bring a few of them here. We can get it done.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, I guess we should probably move on. Do you have anything else we should bring up before the end of the session here, Russell?
I can't think of anything else.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for.
I think I left it all on the table.
Man, we covered a lot of stuff today. That was good.
We did.
Yeah. Right on. All right. Well, you, the viewer, if you're in the music industry, don't give up. We're entering another difficult period now, or we're not entering it. We're in it. We're in another difficult period here. But protect your work on union contracts. Work on union contracts. Join the union. That's how we cement our power and build our power as workers. I meant to mention, gosh, before we even close out, I meant to mention we had a really great week with the union office this week. We had 4 different musicians come in, independent contractor musicians come in or not all came in. We did them on calls and Zoom meetings and stuff. But we did contracting sessions with 4 different musicians, and we got like 12 different engagements protected on union contracts, and that means that those wages, working conditions, safety protocols are protected, by our union, by our strength together, and that was really great. So congratulations to those musicians that came in and got that done, and
Got it done.
yeah, it was really great. So, and anyway, I was in the middle of signing off. You too, as the viewer, you can take advantage of those things, of our solidarity together and working together to build power, because music is a business. Music generates income, and we can't let people tell us that it's a hobby or it's a charity or whatever. It's a business, and it makes money, and too often we don't get enough of that money. So, my friends, let's do it together. All right, we'll see you next week on The Get Back. Take care.